Over the years, our family's had its share of health problems.
So prescriptions are a part of our life.
Before we went to the big box store.
We both thought it would help us save. But with the long lines and impersonal service, filling prescriptions became a chore. That's when a friend recommended D&H.
Now Tristan knows our prescriptions. Brenda always helps us find the right vitamins. And after Dad's fall, Monica's been a real expert with all our home medical needs. All without the lines.
Trust and service.
That's our D&H.
Good morning and welcome to Radio Friends. It's Thursday, August the 28th, and we have one very interesting guy with us today, Jack Schultz, who is the director of the Life Science Center at the university. Good to have you here, Jack.
Good to see you again, Paul.
Now, you were on with us talking about stem cell research about 2 months or so ago.
Right.
Amazing, the information that you can process, and you do process at that Life Science Center.
Well, it's actually pretty important because the Life Sciences Center is kind of unusual because it mixes all kinds of sciences and scientists together. Most of them wouldn't even run into each other on a campus normally, but we have them all together in one building. Everything from HIV viruses to soybeans to nervous systems, it's a gamish.
And all communicating with each other.
Communicating with each other. In fact, they all agree to play well with each other as part of being in the building.
What do you feel is the most important part of this entire program that you're part of?
Well, first of all, the approach is really pretty unique but necessary. I know it sounds funny that I select the approach instead of one of the science things, directly. But scientists have forever been trained as though they're going to work alone and be solitary geniuses solving problems. But important questions, important problems to solve really require more than one person, lots of expertise. If you're going to have surgery, you probably don't want the anesthesiologist doing the brain surgery and vice versa, right?
Right.
And science is a team sport in the same way. You really need different kinds of people doing different kinds of things together to address a single problem.
Yeah. Now, when you came in, we had a little time to talk before we started this segment. And we had a whole gamut of topics that we were touching on. And you were amazing me with the information that you had regarding these specific topics. We were talking about organic gardening and fungus on the tomatoes, and he just said, well, broccoli, if you save your broccoli and till it into the soil, it's going to help inoculate, or would you say fumigate the soil?
Fumigate the soil, sure, yeah.
Fumigate the soil for next year from fungus for the tomatoes.
Tell me, do you drink coffee?
Yes.
And you enjoy coffee?
Yes.
Does it do something for you?
Yes, it kind of wakes me up.
Yeah.
If I don't have coffee in the morning, I feel let down, and if I don't have my second cup, it's hard to get through the rest of the morning.
I'm glad I'm seeing you after your first cup anyway.
Yeah.
So that's caffeine doing that.
Right.
Okay, and the way that works is caffeine, the molecule looks a lot like one of the signals your brain uses to stay alert. Between each two neurons, two nerve cells, a little chemical signal has to jump across to carry the information through your nervous system. One of those signals looks just like caffeine. So coffee plants are making this thing that's a neurotransmitter. It's what your brain uses to communicate. Why? Why would coffee be making this nervous system
I don't know.
signal? Well, coffee is eaten by things that have nervous systems.
Coffee is eaten by
things that have nervous systems, like insects.
Okay.
For you, it's amusing to take a little dose of caffeine, kind of wakes you up a little bit. If you're a little tiny insect and you get a dose of caffeine, what it does is it makes all your nerves fire at once and you get all scratched up and it kills you. Caffeine is an insecticide.
Caffeine is an insecticide.
And so is nicotine, cocaine. All of those related chemicals, their function in plants is pretty much to protect the plant against things that would eat it.
So are you telling me that caffeine is in insecticides that we put on the garden?
No, you could if you could extract enough of it. In fact, people have used nicotine for quite a long time as an insecticide. They isolate it, they concentrate it, and dry it out and spread it on crops as an insecticide.
Well, wouldn't that be a better insecticide than some of the chemicals and the caffeine also?
Yeah, I think that economics rule this. I think it's probably more expensive to do it that way than it is to synthesize something new.
Okay.
But nicotine is one of our oldest insecticides.
The other thing we were talking about, and I think you just touched briefly on this the last time, about the grass screaming for help when you cut it. Explain what you're talking about.
Well,
here.
we all kind of we all sense, of course, the odor of mown grass.
Right. Or if you live out in the country and a field of hay has just been cut,
Sure.
there's nothing that smells better than fresh mown hay.
Right. That smell has a function in the normal life of the plant, and one of the functions is to call in friends.
Call in friends?
Call in friends. Usually, grasses aren't necessarily adapted to lawnmowers. What they have to confront is insects and things attacking them in nature, okay? When that happens, they stand the risk of being completely consumed unless they do something about it. And they do two things. One is, we were just talking about the chemistry in plants being insecticidal, and grasses, like everything, have that kind of chemistry. But they also emit these odors that are attractive to other insects and sometimes even birds that want to eat the insects doing the damage to the plant. So they're recruiting friends.
So when you cut the grass doesn't know that it's a human being pushing a lawnmower that's
Right.
cutting it. Mm-hmm. The grass thinks that it is an enemy, an insect that is there. It's screaming out for help for friendly insects to come and devour the ones that are hurting it.
Yes, but the grass actually can tell the lawnmower from an insect.
Again?
But it's not a perfect system, and so it goes ahead and emits some of these signals even though it's a lawnmower. Actually, what we find is that grasses and other plants emit specific odors depending on who's eating them. So let's take a tobacco plant. It emits one bouquet of odors if a caterpillar is eating it, but a different bouquet if it's a grasshopper. And the function of that is that there are different enemies looking for caterpillars than are looking for grasshoppers. So if you want to call in friends, you want to call in the friends that will help you against the thing that's damaging you. And sometimes it's a caterpillar, sometimes it's a grasshopper. So it's a really kind of a specific conversation going on.
Yeah. And that, again, goes back to the fact of what we mentioned the last time, is that everything is interrelated. Yeah. Everything's interrelated. And then man comes along and we throw a monkey wrench in the deal.
There's that tendency, yeah. The other function of these odors is that they can turn on defenses and other changes in nearby plants. So there's communication between the plants as well. Yeah. So if we damage this plant, it emits signals that turn on defenses in the plant next door, which is pretty cool.
Jack, we're out of time, but you've got to come back again. This is so interesting just talking to you.
A million stories in the life sciences.
Will you come back?
Sure.
All right.
Happy to.
Jack Schultz, director of the Life Science Center. Always a pleasure having you here. I feel like a kid in the second or third grade learning with you. Tomorrow, Heather Harlan, Phoenix program will be here. Our program directed by Travis McMillan, Reynolds Journalism Institute. Audio is Pat Akers from KBIA. Our floor director is Daniel Shapiro, and our assistant producer and guest coordinator, Uncle James Mauser. Remember that grass, the smell, it's calling out for help.